Hey everyone, Dave Alton here with Strategic Information Resources. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about AI and some of the risks that are associated with it, specifically shadow AI. Some of you may have heard of shadow IT. This is very similar, just with an AI stint. So we're going to go through it and we're going to jump right into it. We want to talk about shadow AI, the real risk, and how to protect client data while letting your team use AI safely. It's a really important concept to have, and I want to tell you a little bit about us. So we're a managed service provider, and we help small businesses with technology. We're a team of solutionists. And we do everything from, basic, my printer broke and password resets all the way to, changing out CRMs and ERP systems. We've been spending a lot of time in the AI space, like everybody on the planet at the moment. And we've been, navigating what IT looks like for small business and how best to leverage it. So I'm the CTO here at Strategic Information Resources, and I've been really happy with what we've been doing for small businesses. And I've been in the cybersecurity / compliance space for almost my entire career, it feels like. And we do a lot in that space and making sure that people are both protected and have the documentation to kind of back that up. So let's jump into our discussion this month, and we're really going to be talking to small business owners and how they can enable their teams to use AI without going crazy and risking all kinds of data, right? Some of the common concerns are here on the screen, uncertainty about which AI tools teams are using, the desire to embrace all AIs without having any kind of data incidents, the need for a clear policy on AI use, the misconception that not officially adopting AI means no risk, while teams may already be using it informally. And then embracing AI allows you to control and empower your team without necessarily risking or compromising your data. And we're going to dive into a little bit of, how you can facilitate that as a business owner and make sure that your team is using it responsibly and the way that matches your business policies. So we know from the stats that are on the screen here that there's AI adoption is very high. And so if you're saying I'm not using AI today, or my team isn't allowed to use AI, it is very unlikely that that's true. 75% of global knowledge workers are currently using generative AI. And that number is even higher in the United States. These are kind of worldwide numbers. And 78% of those that are using it are bringing their own tools, right? And sometimes those are paid tools and they have, good tight controls around how data is used and what they can use it for and things like that. But if they're using any kind of free AI, and all of them have some level of free, basically you are then the product, and that causes data to be exposed to their training systems. 68% of cybersecurity breaches involve human factors. So this just highlights that need for a business to kind of establish, what oversight needs to be in place for AI usage, manage it and then, keep pace with the adoption. So your employees aren't putting your business at risk unnecessarily, and they're getting the benefits of AI. So the term shadow AI is, like I said, it's, shadow IT. And it's just the use of AI tools without some kind of official approval, right? Whether that's they're bringing their own, and they have an account with, OpenAI or Anthropic or Google, or they're using free versions of those. And they're not trying to necessarily do things or bad or color outside the lines. They've just heard a lot about this and they see that there is some efficiency gains and ways to solve business problems with this new tool set. I like to say that AI isn't really a whole lot different than what we saw in the early 90s, late 80s, when computers were really starting to kind of hit their stride. We didn't really have internet yet, but it wasn't Excel at the time. It was Lotus 1-2-3 and VisiCalc. So I'm really dating myself with some oldies but goodies there. Those tools were going to basically put accountants out of business. And they were just spreadsheets, right? That's all they really were. And nobody really knew what that meant or how it worked. And I would say AI is very, very similar. It is a new tool. It does have a lot of power. There are a lot of ways to use it, both well and inappropriately. And the idea isn't that this is going to replace people. It really is just about making people more efficient. So unapproved tools can lead to risks like accidentally sharing data that you didn't mean to. And challenges ensuring that your data security policies are being followed and you're meeting the compliance needs that your business has. And without clear policies, unmonitored AI activities really create visibility gaps. And the focus should really be effectively managing it rather than telling everybody just don't use it, right? And it's all about making it simple, right? We don't want it to be complex or difficult to use. We want it to be straightforward, easy, so that people actually use it. Because the minute you make it complex, it's, nobody really wants to do that. So we're really seeing AI influence work processes as employees really turn these tools on to tackle challenges like excessive emails or never-ending meetings. The tools can save a lot of time drafting or summarizing. They really are embraced for that efficiency. And a blanket ban on AI often fails because it really disregards what the employees need to get their job done, right? It's like saying, yeah, I know your computer's slow, but I'm not buying you a new one, right? Okay, well, then I'm going to go find ways to make my computer faster. And maybe I'm not doing that exactly the way I should be, but I want something that's going to move quicker. And AI is just really kind of that enabler to have you move quicker. So we really want instead of prohibiting AI, we really want organizations to implement a safe AI policy. It provides access to approved tools, sets clear data handling rules, and outlines, what the human review expectations are. The aim is to empower responsible AI use while fostering innovation in a secure work environment, right? We want them to be efficient and use these tools and make sure that they're getting the most out of the tools that are provided so that they can get more work done, to be honest with you. So really what we want to kind of do is, we want to kind of answer 5 questions, right? Is, what do you currently see in your environment that your team is using? And a lot of times when we do AI assessments, we kind of start with the credit cards. And it's funny. A lot of these tools are, $20 a month, so it doesn't seem like a whole lot, and they kind of fall under the radar a lot of times in accounting departments. But knowing what tools are being used by your team is really, really vital for managing this effectively. So we often will start with credit cards. You can also look at a survey. Might be another way to find out what tools people are using. And it's always good to ask why, because certain AIs are better for certain things than others. So your team may use Claude because that's the one that makes the most sense, while others may use ChatGPT. So start to ask them around and have those conversations. Then we want to get into data protection. Identify sensitive data that must not be entered into a public AI platform to really safeguard information. And we're going to cover a little bit of what those things are in another slide here. Access and identity. Which business systems can AI tools access? And then making sure that that is managed and you're paying attention to the vulnerabilities of that, right? This is, hey, I hooked up my email to Copilot, or I hooked up my email to Claude. And is that okay? And then more importantly, if it is, what are we saying that, hey, if there is some kind of breach or something happening, how do we effectively deal with that, manage it, and make sure that our people aren't accidentally leaking data, right? We want to review a policy and really create a clear set of rules that include human oversight into how AI is used to ensure compliance, right? To make sure that we're not doing things that are coloring outside the lines or working in ways that our clients and our customers don't expect us to. And then, really, what is the practical plan and set of actions that you need for the next 30 days to improve your AI governance? And I would really start with small, simple, really, really straightforward things like, hey, our default tool is X, and these are the pieces of information that you can put into it or not put into it. And if you kind of start with these questions, your team, your employees will help you kind of and guide you to the right AI policy. And of course, you can look on the internet and find a lot of boilerplate AI policies, but I highly suggest that you kind of build one on your own. It shouldn't be more than a page. It should be very straightforward and really allow your team to understand what are the AI tools that are allowed to be used, what aren't allowed to be used, what data can we put in, and what data can't we put in. So, really, you can't, what's the saying? You can't manage what you can't see. So it really is about going in and trying to find where those tools are being used, right? It's crucial that you kind of have that AI tool visibility and really understand, is it connected to our email? Is it connected to files? Is it in CRM or cloud storage? A lot of creative tools now use these, right? What are all the places where it's being used and how it's being used? And then really establishing that clear communication about tool usage kind of fosters that trust among employees. And then visibility is essential for making sure that we have the right security policies in place and that your current practices before creating the guidelines. Really emphasize that transparency so that people want to engage with using this properly and not, oh yeah, it doesn't matter if I put social security numbers in here, right? We pay for the AI, so that's protected data. Yes, it is to a degree, but it also is a risk that you can kind of get in front of. So data protection is essential for maintaining trust and compliance in any organization, right? It's important to establish that clear guideline on how you handle that data and what should and should not be shared with public or unapproved AI tools. To comply with FTC safeguards, the do not paste rule must be clearly communicated. Employees should have a straightforward list of sensitive data to avoid guessing which things you have to protect and which you don't and stuff like that, right? Again, that AI policy should kind of spell this out. And these are some of the ones that I would say you probably should not put these in for any reason, right? Client records, and client records can be something as simple as email, phone number, and name, right? That is personally identifiable information. So you may need to use things like client name here, and then you do find and replace at a later point in the transaction. HR and employee data, again, anonymized HR and employee data is fine, but like specific data, social security numbers, things like that from your team, really not a good idea to put in there. I would highly suggest tax records not be something that is reviewed directly. And if they are, it can't be personally identifiable. So you can't have things like their address or their name or their social or things like that. Contracts, it's fine to review contracts with AI and have it point things out to you, but you have to think about like what other data is in those contracts. For instance, in the Department of Defense space, contract may have sensitive information in it, and you have to protect it in a certain way. Same with a health kind of contract. You might have health information that's in there that should not be shared, right? Legal or privileged information shouldn't be put into an AI. There is some rulings around how AI is discoverable, and so it can come back to bite you on stuff like that. Non-public projects, financial statements, passwords and credentials. Hopefully that is super straightforward and doesn't nobody would put that in. And then any kind of regulated data, right? PII, which is personally identifiable information, PHI, personal health information, and then CUI, which is controlled unclassified information. That's a government standard in the DoD space. And then there's a whole bunch of like classified and different ones like that you would also be should not put into an AI. But this is a good list to kind of get started with, and really these should be included in your AI policy. So it's really a matter of figuring out, okay, what are the ones that we need to make sure, hey, I'm a tax law firm. I really shouldn't be putting, tax law data directly into an AI. But if you clearly define the boundaries, our teams can do a better job of protecting the data that needs to be protected. So when you are looking at getting connected to AI and how the tools change the risk, if your file permissions are messy, your AI permissions will inherit the mess, right? We do a very, very thorough kind of review of what is in a SharePoint before we turn any Copilot on for Microsoft. And the main reason is that, over the years, people put stuff in SharePoint and in Teams, and they don't really think about it, and they put it in, and it's all good. And, it's kind of security by obscurity, right? It isn't clear who has access to what. But I can't tell you how many times we've gotten the call, somebody found out the CEO's salary or how much they got paid last year. And things like that. And it's not necessarily bad, but it can be embarrassing and difficult to manage. And, you want to make sure that those types of things are walled off from the right people, and that only the people that should have that information has access, right? So really start thinking about considering limiting access to specific folders or departments for better data control. So, HR probably shouldn't be available to everybody, right? Maybe just HR has access. We really want to tighten our security controls as well. So we can hook up single sign-on to a lot of these tools, especially in the enterprise space. Multi-factor authentication should be turned on for every thing. It really doesn't matter, including AI tools. And then that really helps you, maintain secure access along with the ability to revoke access when needed. And then we really want to, highlight the importance of logging and oversight and ensuring the tool provides access logs and accountability for vendor relationships. Remember, that disorganized file permissions really does lead to a chaotic AI tool permission, and it really raises the risk of somebody getting a hold of some data that wouldn't have been easy to get a hold of before, right? Because they didn't know the folder structure or anything else. Now, If Copilot's hooked up to all of your SharePoint and Teams sessions, I can just ask Copilot, hey, show me all the salaries of the people that work here. And voila, off it goes, and it combs through all that data to find what is or isn't there and present that. And then you can continue to interrogate it and ask it questions, and it can come back. It can come back with information that you really don't want shared. So when we're looking at AI tools, we really want to make sure that there's a human in the loop, right? It's pretty common that HIT, a human in the loop, is something that we really want to do for everything, right? That AI policy should have something that says, hey, listen, if an AI produced this, a human's got to go over it before somebody actually it gets sent out, or it becomes a public facing document, or even an internal facing document. You really need that human review as you start to look for making sure that things are accurate and they're at the quality level that you're expecting, right? Clarify that approval process for new tools. Specify responsible individuals and steps for employees to verify tool status. Hey, I want to use the new AI from GenSpark. Oh, okay, well, that's not approved yet. Okay, well, what's the approval process? I don't know. You should have a very clear set of, hey, we want to review this new tool. These are the things that we're going to look at, and who that ultimate responsible person is. And in most cases, that's a business owner, but a lot of times you can have other people that maybe have a specialty in AI and really kind of understand that world, and making sure that you're using it responsibly and that the tool is going to work the way you expect and protect your data the way you want it protected, right? And then really, stress that policy, right? Really straightforward. It really helps to mitigate the risk and, keep people from using unauthorized AI tool usage. The easiest way to control AI tools is to give people the tools they need to get their jobs done, and not leave it up, say, hey, yeah, we don't want you using any tools. It's just not realistic. So this is a kind of a simple 4-week plan. It's very high level, but anybody could kind of take this and kind of walk through it and start to determine, hey, how am I going to look at this? What are the things that I need to do? So in week 1, you really want to find what is being used, right? What are all the existing AI tools? That's a survey, it directly asking people, credit card review. There are some network tools that we can see that will allow us to tell what people are doing on AI, but you don't really have to have that. It's a nice to have, because you can kind of dive in deeper and know exactly where people are going and why. And so you're doing this. You don't want to judge anybody in this. You really just I want to know what's there, right? Week 2, create a categorized list of all the AI tools as approved, limited, or not approved to clarify usage. So maybe one person uses Claude, another person uses GPT, and you guys land on, hey, GPT is going to be our tool of use. Okay, great. We're not saying Claude is better necessarily, or that OpenAI is better. It's really it's a choice. And once you approve it, then, hey, this is what we're going to use. You tie it to their email, and it's pretty easy to manage and maintain at that point. Right? Draft a concise, do not paste data categories to ensure compliance and understanding, right? Pasting data into AIs is the easiest way to leak data. And so if you have that rule in place and they understand, hey, these categories really can't be pasted in, you can very, very quickly get to, oh, okay, I'm not going to have somebody accidentally put in social security numbers and things like that. And then you want to conduct a controlled pilot, a low risk workflow, and review the output for both security and effectiveness, right? It's both of those things, not just one, not just that, hey, it's got to be secure, but it's also got to be effective. a lot of people, buy these tools. And initially, there's a lot of like, oh, this is cool, and I really like doing this, so on and so forth. And then what you find is they don't work as well as kind of advertised because there isn't really a plan around it. So working with your team to determine what works and what doesn't is really, really helpful. And really, again, we're not looking for perfection here. We're really looking to just make sure that we know what is being used and that we can manage it. So this has all, been about finding that balance and ensuring that your data is safe and that you can take advantage of AI, right? So instead of banning AI or saying, hey, no, we're not going to do this, it's a matter of setting up AI with clear rules and guardrails, making sure that you have approved tools and that humans are always going to review any kind of output to minimize risk. And if you use this framework, it really reduces the cognitive load for business owners and encourages safe practices. The aim is to make AI a valuable asset through guidance and structured approach versus, hey, we're just, it's kind of a free for all and anybody can kind of do what they want, right? We don't want to have employees guessing at what is the right way to use the AI. We want that to be very clear and focused and not be ambiguous. So what we're starting to see is this evolution, right? Chatbots are really cool. Definitely kind of that, first era of AI. And it's only responding, right, when it's prompted. There isn't any real risk to, having it kind of go off the rails, right? Because you're constantly in, that response mode. But what we're seeing now, especially here in 2026, is the agentic era is kind of upon us, right? AI becomes way more proactive, can perform tasks autonomously. Think of Hermes and OpenClaw and a lot of these tools that are out there that have these, kind of can do things in the background kind of ways. And it, we've seen it where, somebody turns something on and doesn't realize it, and the next thing is it's kind of going off the rails, and it's doing a lot very, very quickly, and without it waiting for you to say, yeah, go ahead and do that. It just kind of does it, right? So it's really important that we're, making sure that as we get more into this agentic era, that our autonomous processes are very well thought out. There's a clear, path for a workflow, and that workflow has checks and balances to make sure that it's not going to do something that is unintended, right? You didn't mean for that to happen, but that's what happened. And shadow AI is kind of that open door, because as people start playing with new tools, they find ways to do things and they go, oh, wow, I can take this Excel spreadsheet and I can have it be transformed and just immediately go through, bringing this data in. But if the review process isn't there or there aren't good policies in place, that underlying data that's being brought in could be wrong, right? Or it's not as right as it should be, or it's not looked at as properly as it should be. So it's really, really important to kind of make sure that both the team understands that agentic is without your kind of approval or action, right? It's not that reaction, it's a autonomous workflow that's kind of running. And that people understand, hey, when we turn those on, there's got to be a lot of checks and balances that go into it. So that is our discussion around AI. I will ask anybody if they have any questions and see if anyone wants anything. I don't see a whole lot of people on the chat, so we'll probably bypass questions today. But if you do have questions, you can reach out to us. So we're always looking at how to make your tech work for you and protect your people and profits from hackers, right? Keeping you safe whether that's by using AI properly or helping you build AI kind of policies, or just understanding what AI is in use. That is all stuff that we're happy to help with, and you can ask us questions about any of that anytime. We keep your AI environment optimized and secure as it evolves, and we really work as your partner, making sure that both your IT, AI, and support is managed well and properly. So what are some of the next steps? So everything I've given you, you could definitely do on your own. This does not take somebody with an advanced understanding of AI or IT in general. But if you're like a lot of business owners and that seems overwhelming, or you don't have time, we can help, right? Or other MSPs can help. I would encourage anybody that's going down the AI road to have somebody look at this as a third party, a neutral third party, to really go in and discover what's going on, why, and where, to make sure that it doesn't have an ill effect on your business going forward. So if you want to reach out, you can book a strategy session with me or someone from our team. And a lot of times when these webinars come out, I kind of get inundated. So don't be discouraged. Just kind of push yourself out a little further in the calendar, and we can work you in. And we want to say thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate you listening, and we hope that as you continue on your AI journey and you continue working with these tools, that you find this kind of stuff helpful. So again, thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and we will talk to you next month.